Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in on this Wednesday for another masterclass session. And today we're going to be focusing on interior decorating, and we're going to be doing it with the newly released Dwarven pack for the Fantasy Battlemap style. Now, I've already put together this floor plan of a Dwarven Dwelling, so if you like this map, you can totally clone and edit it and then do your own interior decorating. You can follow along, or if you want, you can just do it off somewhere another time. So I'll provide that link in the chat there. So feel free to clone and edit that. Just a little caveat on this map. This map was actually made about a year ago, and I just upgraded it to the layer 2.0. So if you have an older map and you want to be able to use the new layer features that you'll see here in this right panel right here, you'll need to go to the hamburger menu, and in this drop down menu right here, you'll notice one that says that you can go over to the 2.0 or the custom layers. So that is how you're going to upgrade it. And that's one of the reasons why you might notice that this map has a land tool. Technically, this is the Fantasy Battlemap style. You would not see this land tool right here if it was a new map. But because this is an older map, and about a year old or so, it still has this land tool. You will not find that if you create a new map with the Fantasy Battlemap style. So just a little caveat there. Okay? Now don't forget, if you do like this map, you do want to clone it, you want to follow along, the link is in the chat at the very top. Hey, Typher Zero. Hey, Alice. Already some of my favorite people are already here. And don't be shy, all of you out there watching. Feel free to say anything you want in the chat. Okay, so we're doing some interior decorating. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to go over the setup in the right panel where my custom layer panel is. That's this thing right here. This is that custom layer panel. And it's important that I show you this setup because it actually pertains to interior decorating. So in this right panel, there's a couple things that I did here. And the way that I usually put together things is I'll start by making the walls first. And I put this on a whole separate object layer. And I do that for a reason, because then I can find the wall layer without having any difficulties navigating through all the different objects and everything. I know that it's just right there. And I did group everything right here, and I called it walls. And the order in which I have the walls within the layers here is actually super important. Hey, first time chatter, Toasty Bread. Glad that you're here, by the way. Thanks for piping in, chiming in. Appreciate that. Yes, love hearing first time chatters. Now I have my walls up here, and you'll notice that I have a couple other object layers as well. For instance, I have stairs and flooring. That means that all my stairs, things like these stairs right here, this what's called a threshold, this stuff on the floor, like this icon right here and this rune right here, all this stuff right here, that's all part of the floor. And I have at a layer below the walls because guess what? The floor obviously isn't above the walls, right? The walls rest on the floor. So I put the floor stuff, that's going to be the stairs, access points, I put that down on a layer below the walls. Beneath the stair and the floors, well, actually I put them in between here. In between the walls and the stairs and the floor, you're going to have the interior decor. Okay, and that's going to be the layer in which I'm going to be putting all of my interior objects on. And I don't have to navigate through the walls. I don't have to navigate through the staircases and the access points. So I'm setting it up in this order in which you have walls at the very highest, then you have then you have your interior decor, because you want the interior decor to be below the walls because they're not as high up as the walls, but you also don't want them to be beneath the floor, right? You want them to be up on top of the floor or higher up. So you see the order of operation here is walls, interior decor, stairs, or whatever floor stamps you're going to do, whether it's an icon on the floor, a mural on the floor, stairs, a threshold, all of those things. I even do, sometimes I put the fireplace on the floor part, and then I'll put the chimney on the wall part because it should be above. So I hope this order of operation kind of helps you to understand. If you don't know how to create multiple object layers, it's not complex. If you look over here, this button that says add layer, and you can see there's a lot of different layers you can choose from: object, brush, land, filter, and grid. You're just going to click that object layer. And when you click that new object layer, it's going to show up right above whatever the current layer that's selected in the panel. Okay. So now that you kind of get the overall setup of how I put it together, there is actually one more, and that is this floor texture. I do want to mention this because this is important. This floor texture right here is a brush layer. You can tell what kind of layer it is by the little icon that's next to it. You'll see there's a brush layer here, and I've relabeled it floor texturing, and there's a layer mask on it. I'll go ahead and select this layer mask here, and I'm going to put on visualize mask. And you see that I've created a mask, and notice that that floor texture mask is below the walls, it's below the interior decor, and it's below the stairs. It's actually one of the very bottom layers next to the background and base layers, but it's right below all of those object layers for a reason. It's because I don't want to paint on top of my interior decor. I don't want to paint on top of my walls. I don't want to accidentally paint on top of my stairs. All of that texture painting that you're doing is going to be below all of those object layers, so you don't accidentally paint over them. So you kind of see the order of operation there. I usually always start with walls, and then I do access points, which is stairs, flooring, and then I do my decor after that, and I'll make sure to put that in between those two floors. Okay, so now you can see the layer mask. Now we did add some videos to our YouTube channel. There's a full 2.0 editor overview. That's about 2.5 hours. If you don't have time for that, don't worry. We've done a bunch of clips kind of covering some of the most basic questions or the most asked questions that I've noticed so far. Things like, how do I create layer masks? What happened to the tool, the land tool? Where happened to the grid and the filter tools? How do you make a stamp composition? All of those things, all of those questions will be answered in the clips that we have on top of some official videos that will be coming in. Hey, Bjorn, first time chatter, glad that you are here. Thank you for your support. We appreciate you. Okay, so now you kind of get the overall setup of how I put it together. Now I can click this interior decor layer right here, this interior decor layer, and notice that there's no objects in it. Let me place one object just so you can kind of see what I mean by the importance of the layer. And that is, you'll notice that this stamp on the interior decor goes below the walls, right? It goes below the walls, but it's not below the floor itself. So it's in the proper layer. Okay. Now, some important things that are really helpful with interior decorating is to first have a functional purpose assigned to each room or floor. By adding a function and labeling it, it's easier to figure out what goes inside of each room. So let me just quickly go over the floor plan, and then we'll start with the vestibule and move our way down, because this is a Dwarven dwelling. I built it to where the entrance hall or the vestibule is above, and then down below is where it goes into further down. It's kind of a subterranean dwelling. Yes, I did the way that that's the first time chatter. I'll real quickly answer that question, a good question, but let's try to leave questions for the end. I'll do a Q&A. But those lighting right there was all done on a layer right here called lighting, and it's an object layer. And you notice that I put that lighting is above the walls, interior decor, stairs, and it's above the floor layer. So lighting is above all that stuff. Now, you don't have to put lighting above everything. Sometimes you can move the lighting down to in between the walls and then above the interior decor, because guess what? It doesn't make any sense that the light sources would be going on the wall above the wall section, right? You would only see it on the flatter part that you can't see. So I've set it up to where the lights are above, but it's up to you. But I've went ahead and put that light sources all on one layer, and I've used light stamps. There are a lot of different ways that you can do lighting. You can do more advanced lighting with using objects or using shapes. The shape tool, you can do it using the line tool. You can use it using the top layer. There's about a dozen different ways to go about light and shading, but I'll save that for another episode where we'll go over like at least a dozen ways that I know. Okay, so the very first room is the vestibule. And again, this is that room right here. I've had a little diagram to kind of help us out here. But this part right here represents these two floors right here, the vestibule. When you first walk in, hey, first time chatter, glad that you are here. Awesome. Love seeing all these first time chatters. So the vestibule is basically like an antechamber, or it's the entrance hall, right? Or the entrance room in which you go when you first enter a room. So This first room for me, what I was thinking about my dwarven setup is that I kind of wanted to have like a statue, like a little worshiping shrine with a torch or a kind of a big brazier on the floor right here with some lighting. This way there's kind of an ominous and yet memorable kind of scene that takes place in the first floor that you walk into. Because for me, the first thing your players see is, for me, I want it to be impactful. So I've added in a little shrine in here that might have either a religious purpose or just an entrance hall that looks pretty and leaves an imposing impact on those who are visiting the domain. There's also a series of stairs, one that goes up, that's up here. This one goes up to where there's like a little lighthouse like setup where there's runes and magic, and there's a little crystal inside of here. And this kind of acts as kind of either like a beacon or a protective barrier that protects the domicile or the dwelling from attackers. So it has all of those things there. Once you take the stairs down right here, down below, it'll take you into the first hall right here. You'll see there's the stair right here that leads into here. And this room, I also wanted to have it be imposing because it's the main hall that connects to all the other rooms. So I wanted to put a kind of memorable scene for your players when they come down into this room. And there are access points on each direction, cardinal direction there, going north, south, east, and west here. If you go up into the hall here, up into this, there's a dining space right here. And I've even put like maybe a little statue of a miner right here. This is kind of maybe like a blessing statue, or maybe before you eat, the dwarves will kiss their hands and then kiss the statue, or maybe they leave an offering or some food at the base of the statue to show respect for ancestors, things like that. You'll notice too that I put these little tiny symbols on the floor right here. The reason why I put these symbols here, these runes here, is they represent maybe that they mark what kind of room it is. So this room right here is a dining room, so maybe this is a symbol that represents that. And then in from the dining room, I have a kitchen, as you would kind of expect, right? You want to be able to take the food and then move right over to the dining. It doesn't make any sense to have a kitchen that's maybe 3 floors away or maybe 2 hallways and a bedroom away. So having the kitchen and the dining room makes sense. We'll go back to the hall. There are some smaller rooms down here, maybe for children or for guests. They're not very big. If you move over into the left part of the wing, you'll notice that there is a master bedroom here, and then it goes down over here into a storage area, and this storage area is attached to like a gold vein. This might be the personal wealth of this family. They get it from this gold vein here. And might be storage for storing supplies, tools, things that you use for mining the gold ore. All of those things are important. Okay. Yeah, for those of you who are just tuning in, just pay attention to my layers here on the right side here, just how I set things up. Lighting, my labels, all my filters are up here, then walls, interior decor, stairs, and then the flooring texture of the brush layer. Yep, I think what some people might be confused with is that there is no longer like this land tool right here that's available in the battle map styles. It's only available to like the world styles plus the watercolor city style, unless there's another style that I missed. So, but don't be frustrated if you don't see this with the Fantasy Battlemap styles. You can totally make your own mask yourself just fine by just going over into here. You add a brush layer, and then on the brush layer, you right click, and you'll have this option to create a mask. Like I have this background right here. If I right click, add a mask, click that, and then you can create a mask, and then you can go ahead and do the same thing that the land tool does. It's just simply a mask. The only difference is that the mask effects, that's those ripples, the inner and outer shadows, those things will not be available with layer masks in that right tool panel. Those will only be available with the land tool for those styles that I mentioned earlier, okay? Just kind of important. All right, now that I've kind of just briefly gone over the layout, we can jump right into interior decorating. So I'm gonna go ahead and maneuver myself down into the layer called interior decor, and I won't accidentally select anything. Notice that when I do this, nothing gets selected. There's nothing in this right objects panel here. That's perfect. And what we'll do, hey, Black Angel, glad that you're here, first time chatter. Let's go start with the vestibule first. And what I want to do is show that this is kind of like a shrine, a kind of a warming place. Maybe people say prayers here before they, maybe there's a special blessing that users have to, or that players have to do at the statue there that will unlock maybe the stairs, or maybe there's some locked doors in here. Maybe there's some puzzle or maybe some enchantment or chant that the players each have to say in some order for them to get in here. So some things to kind of show that is maybe I want to add in some scrolls, maybe some books on the floor. And there should be some new scrolls right here. Let's see here. Oh, these are still in the whip, but let's go ahead and use these right here. This is new Market 2.0. We got some scrolls here. Let's go ahead and place a couple of these. Now I've already got stamps placed down, so I've already got a scale kind of set right here. And I'm going to place just a bunch of these scrolls on the ground like this. And the reason why I'm doing this is because maybe there's a scroll for each, maybe there's a scroll that's for each player, and maybe each scroll kind of describes the chant in which the players have to read for them to enter into the lower levels. So I'll go ahead and bring the brightness down. The light kind of makes it a little bit darker. Now I have some nice scrolls here. Your players are going to be reading these enchantments and then allowing themselves to access the lower floors. There's not much that we need to add up in here because it's just a vestibule. I mean, the only thing that I can think of that you might want to consider adding in here is maybe some benches, a place to sit. So we could just go ahead and zoom right in with the Dwarven 2.0 by just going over to the navigator inside of the catalog where it says packs, and I can go to where it says Dwarven 2.0, and now it will show me everything within that pack. I want to be able to see everything, including the stamp set. So I'll just go ahead and go expand all assets, and now every single thing will be available for me to see. That's perfect. Why don't we type in a search? Why don't we type in chair? Oh, so I see some chairs here. That's perfect. Why don't we put some chairs that don't have any arms? And let's make sure that we have the scale right. And let's just put a couple chairs right here. And these can kind of represent a place for maybe when there's guests and someone is doing some entertaining and those current guests haven't left yet. And so this is a little waiting area where people can either kind of say prayers, sit here, they can chat amongst themselves. Think of it as like a waiting room. And then that way there's some nice decoration there. Okay, I think that's it. Really, we don't need to add a whole lot in here, really, because considering it's just a vestibule. And you'll notice that the way that I decided how to decorate the room was a couple things. One, its function. Because it's a vestibule, because I added a little bit of lore, I was able to kind of figure out what to put in that room. Because it's a waiting room, there needs to be a place for people to sit. What kind of waiting room is it when you have to stand the whole time? So adding some chairs makes sense. Remember, we talked about a way in which the players can descend into the next level down. Well, we have some scrolls there, so it kind of makes sense that we add in some scrolls so that they can do those enchantments and then move their way down. Okay. I'm not going to add anything to this upper floor here. This is just where the lighthouse is. So this, or not really the lighthouse, but maybe where the shield generator is, where the crystal is. I don't think I really need to add anything to this floor. So why don't we descend right down right here and make our way into the lower halls right here. Now there's a lot of things that we can put in this hall right here. Notice that we have some open space right here, here, and here. We can fill in those spaces, and that should be quite helpful here. So let's go back into the catalog here. We'll remove that chair in the search field. And I'll go ahead and maybe look up some pots. Maybe I can put down a table and then maybe put a pot on top of that table. Maybe that would make sense. So let's take a look at what we have here. Let's type in table. This one right here. This is a nice stone table. Why don't I make a couple of them? Let's put one table there. Right here. Let's put that there. Let's also put a pot on top of that. And there should be some pots in here. Let's put this red one right here. This is a nice color here. Let's bring the scale up. And let's just place it right on top like that. Do I need to rotate it maybe? No, I think this looks good. And then I'll go ahead and rotate this. Place this in this corner here. Let's go ahead and bring the brightness down on just a little bit. There we go. And then I can copy and paste these. One right here like this. And we'll put something different on each table too, by the way. And since this is kind of set up in this way, we can make it a little bit different in this corner here. Not everything has to be exactly symmetrical. We can change it up. We can add like a little statue in this corner right here. Why don't we do that? Let's type in statue. Let's go with maybe this one right here. And we can place it just right up against the wall right here like this. There we go. So I have a nice little statue here. This could be like a little shrine area, a little place to worship an ancestor. It could be maybe there's a secret passage by taking the sword and then placing it in a slot. There's all these different things you can do. But a lot of things with interior decorating, because this is the main hall that leads everywhere else, I want it to be somewhat exuberant. I want it to be imposing. So I'll go ahead and apply those things, put that there. That looks good, a little statue there. And I'll even change out maybe an arrangement of pots. Let's maybe change the pots. You can see I can scroll through the different pots. Let's put this little blue one right here. And I'll kind of scale it to where it's not too big. I'll go ahead and place it there. I'll rotate it. There we go. Let's go with, I think right about there looks good. Yeah, that looks good for the pot. There we go. Some nice interior decor. Let me make sure there's plenty of walking room around here. Okay. You can, how do you D20 TV first time chatter? You can apply an object shadow to it if you want, unless I'm misunderstanding. Yeah, there's an object shadow that you can do. There's also a light source that you can put underneath it. Let me just show you that real quick. Let's say that this pot emanates like a light. It's a glow in the dark like material. I can totally do that right here where it says shadow. I want to select the object, go to shadow. Maybe it emanates this blue like energy from it. I'm just going to set to 0 for the offsets, bring that blur all the way up, bring the intensity up, and now I have this nice bright blue kind of glow coming from that. So that's really the best way to do it, is use an object shadow. And for this, I'm just going to undo that because I don't want to give it an object shadow like that. Yeah, I hope that helped. Great. Okay. Now in this first hallway right here, this is the room where there's a lot of traffic. And so I'm not going to put anything in the middle of the room because that would obstruct the flow of traffic. Remember, people are moving to and fro. They're going from the rooms into the kitchen, into the dining room. They're moving over to the master. They're moving over to the storage here. So this main hall right here, it makes sense, just keep with the flow of traffic, to not add a lot of chairs or tables or even a statue in the center. Let's leave that middle space in that hall right there open so that traffic can move from each room without too much issues. So you always think about flow of traffic. This is also a perfect, great room for combat because it's got a lot of open space. You're not going to be confined to being bottlenecked within these small hallways right here, within these smaller rooms. So if you want to have a battle that's not going to be kind of stuck with your players just moving to behind and in front of each other, this hallway right here is a great room for encounters. Yay! Hey, Tave on Max, first time chatter, glad that you're here. Yeah, object shadows are a must, or you can just put a light source on top of it. That's up to you, okay? So I'm not going to add too much more to this room. We could put like a little chair or something. Like you could put a chair right here if you want to have like a little meditation space right here that kind of goes in here. We can even push this up a layer and then put the chair like this so it's kind of underneath. Or we could put like a bench there of some kind if you want to have like a way to like maybe sit down. Like maybe there's a small bench right here, or maybe it's a place where people can kneel on top of. I don't really know. We could put a little, and to show that it's a bench, why don't we rotate a little bit to look like it got moved? What's the best statue? It depends on what you're doing. There is no best statue. It depends on what you're using it for. Like if you're doing dwarven stuff, maybe you want a dwarven statue. If you're doing elven, you're going to want an elven statue. If you're doing like maybe a garden and you just want a bunch of statues, then I would just use a whole bunch. But honestly, the best statues to use right now would be the 2.0 because the 2.0 art is just so much better than the 1.0 art. So I would recommend, if you have 2.0 access, you have access to the revised art, I recommend you use that. That's just me personally. Okay. All right. So I think overall, this is a good setup right here. Remember, we're not going to block too much. So why don't we move our way into a room that allows us to add a lot more stuff to it? Because this is a dining hall, we're probably going to want to always put the largest furniture first. This is the way that I generally operate. Hey, OO, first time chatter. Awesome. So glad that people are enjoying 2.0. It is chef's kiss, right? So this is the first room where we're kind of actually going in and putting in a lot of furniture. And there's an approach that I have when it comes to decorating a room that's just completely empty like this. And the first thing that I do is I always add the largest furniture first. And the reason why is because that largest furniture is going to fill up the room, and it's going to help me to try to navigate how I'm going to put all the smaller details. It's going to help me to understand my flow of traffic, right? So you always put the biggest furniture in a room first. You wouldn't put little tiny candles and little details without adding like the furniture. So let's go into the catalog here, and we're just going to type in table because we're already in Dwarven 2.0. And we'll go ahead and choose like a larger table. I think this one right here looks kind of nice. It's a little bit bigger. We can put that there. If you don't like that table, we can always use the other ones. There's those ones. And I think, let me expand all these to make sure I have them expanded. Nope. I think this larger one right here will work just fine. And what I like about it too is it's a little bit more organic looking. When you look at it, it looks like it's been cut or chiseled out. And one of the things that I absolutely love about map making is contrasts. You'll notice that there's a lot of straight lines inside of this structure right here. This thing right here breaks up that a little bit and makes it to where there's some more unnatural like cuts, making it a little bit more interesting, right? So we're going to use contrast to make the room a little bit more interesting by using this table. And I want to leave enough room on this side right here and this side right here so that players can move around. It doesn't make any sense to have the table here unless someone's trying to block it, right? Maybe there is some enemies in there that are trying to block you from getting into the kitchen or wherever, and so they push the table up against the wall there. But if you're not having some crazy encounter like that, then within this room, then just put it here in the center, and then we'll go ahead and just take some chairs from here. But let's just, you know what, let's actually find some different chairs so we're not having all the exact same chairs. Let's do ones that have arms as well. Now let's go ahead and look at how many occupants are in here. We've got one room here and another room here. So that's 2 occupants there. And then there's this master right here, and we can put a big 2-person bed in here. So that's going to be 4 people total. Okay, so then now it kind of makes sense that we're probably going to place 4 chairs in here. So we'll place 1, 2, 3, and 4 like this. And I'm going to go ahead and bring that brightness down to show that there's contrast, that the chairs are lower to the floor or lower than the table because the table is higher up. I'm going to bring that brightness down a little bit. This is how you create contrast. Another nice thing that you can do is to show use, right? Sometimes when you leave the table and you push in your chair, it doesn't go in all the way. It doesn't line up perfectly, symmetrically with the table, right? And so to show this sense of use that people have used things, I'll rotate the chairs a little bit. Have one pushed all the way in and rotated against here. Have one pushed out and rotated like this. This is what shows this sense of use, and it does some other things too. It also shows a sense of contrast again, right? It's showing asymmetry. Not everything is perfectly lined up with each other. That contrast makes things pop out. The room becomes more interesting because it's not perfectly symmetrical, where all the furniture is lined up, all the chairs aren't perfectly, perpendicular to each other, parallel to each other, perfectly rotated in that perfect 90-degree angle. All of that stuff helps to create this sense of use, and it creates a sense of contrast and allows it to pop out more. So kind of important. Thank you to all of the VIPs who are helping to mod the chat, by the way. Shout out to all of you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. So from here, what I want to do is there's some other things that you would expect in a dining room. Where is the china held, right? If it's not china, then maybe it's a dresser of some kind that holds the silverware that holds the plates, the cups, the mugs, all of those things. Now that can be in here in the kitchen as well if you want to, but because there's still so much room along these walls, why don't we go ahead and add that stuff? So let's go in here. We'll go in here, and there should be some shelving. There should be some dressers, like right here. There's a kitchen countertop. There's a stone shelf right here. There's these stone cabinets. There's these workbenches. So there's a couple things that we can use here. Why don't we do the first thing and do this kind of kitchen countertop here? And it's not going to be a kitchen counter at all. What this will be instead is going to be where I'm going to be placing my silverware, napkins, all of those things are going to be right here. So this way, when someone is sitting down, they can just turn around, push out their chair, and then walk over to here and then grab the necessary utensils and all the things and then place them on that table there, okay? So that's going to be important. Now, there might be some other things that are also there, like maybe we want to put like another dresser over here that's in this corner. One thing I like is the kitty corners right here. We can put some things in the corner. This right here might represent a couple things, right? This might be where there are some games that the people play at the kitchen table here, at the table right here. It might be a place where you have some other items. It might be important. So I usually try to add in a couple other little dressers and things that are inside of here because there's a whole bunch of things that might be in a dining room, right? Maybe there's games for family night. Maybe there might be things for napkins. Maybe one big dresser is for the silverware. Maybe one dresser right there is for putting in the napkins and the silverware, all of those things like that. So it's important to kind of add those things in. Right now, the room is kind of heavy on this side. I could move it over to here if I wanted to, because I put one item on this side. It might not be another bad idea to move it over to here to balance out the room, or it doesn't hurt to also just leave it there, because if this also has napkins and silverware and this one has plates and bowls, then it doesn't make any sense to walk across the room, right? To go, okay, well, I went over here and grabbed this, and I'm going to walk across the room to get the other items. Placing those two pieces of furniture side by side right next to each other makes the most sense, so that way when they go to set the table, everything is going to be in this arm's reach right here. So kind of important to do that. Some other things that you might want to do in these rooms is you can still add in some interior decor, some decoration, like maybe there's a table in the corner right here. Maybe you want to put something in that corner there, like some kind of decoration of some kind. Maybe we want to put like a little horn right here. Maybe there's a wall decoration. Maybe there's a book right here, a stone book right here. Maybe this book is read before they eat for the prayers. Maybe the book is read when it's family time to tell the stories of old about their ancestors. So those are some things we can add. And to make it separate, we can maybe move this over to here on this side just to balance out the room a little bit. It's always nice to kind of balance out the room. When everything is on one side, it gets a little left or right heavy. So I'll move this over to here. And not also is it just left or right heavy, but it's also functionality, right? This right here, this book has to do with reading stories about the ancestors. Notice how I put it right next to the statue of an ancestor right here. So this functionality and this functionality right here. Now there's a lot more things that we can add to this room, such as details, but what I think I'll do is I'll do details later because that can take a while. So I'll just go over to the next room and then fill it up, and then we'll move on to doing details after that. And I don't mind if the stream goes on for more than an hour because I can go on forever, as you already know. All right, so we'll add details to this later. Let's go ahead and move into the kitchen. Okay. All right. I'm going to go, oh, you know what? There is one thing that I want to also mention. I think I'll also turn on the autosave because that way you don't have to wait through for saving. If you're not familiar with where autosave is, it's right here at the bottom. And right here, we're going to go ahead and click that. A little window is going to pop up and it's going to give you an option to disable and enable. So what we'll do is we'll save the map first, and then I'll go over to this enable real quick. And then I'm going to enable that. And the reason why I'm going to enable it is because I don't want to have to save every other couple hundred changes or so, and that will just make the video be longer. So I'll go ahead and do that real quick. So here's the auto. Right now it's disabled. So I'm going to go ahead and click enable, and then I'm going to save and refresh. and it's going to save the map, and then it's going to refresh it. I didn't even need to do that first initial save. Hilarious. Okay. Oh, yeah, that is a good question in there. How often does it save? I actually don't know the intervals in which it saves. I'm not sure if it's changes or if it's time-oriented. I will definitely ask, though. So I don't know for sure, actually. I'm not a developer myself. More of an artist than I am on the dev side of things. Okay. All right, so I've turned that autosave. Ooh, enable. Oh, I wonder if that's a bug. Oh, that might be a bug right there. That's interesting. Not sure what happened there. Save and refresh. We'll try it again. If it doesn't work, then it was probably a bug. And we'll go ahead and fix that. Okay, we'll go ahead and decorate the kitchen here. Let me see. Oh, there it is, auto-saved. There it is, it works now. Great, okay. Yep, it's just a manual save and refresh. Yeah, if some things happen like that, it's an easy fix. Just save, refresh, do it again. I've noticed sometimes with the layer 2.0 converting over, I have to do it a couple times. So that's just how it goes. Okay, so we just finished doing dining. Remember, we're going to just do the big furniture stuff first. We're not going to do any details. So next comes the kitchen. And a kitchen is pretty straightforward. Oopsie, what is this stair and flooring? Oopsie, interior decorating. There we go. Let's go ahead and use the kitchen counters itself. Notice right here that we have these kitchen counters. Let's go ahead and just use those. So let's move this over to here. Let's place one right here like this. So we have one counter there. There's also this L shape right here. Why don't we add that as well? Let's put that one there. And in fact, why don't we do it this way? Let's remove that one because we just used that one in the other room. I don't want to use it too many times. So let's go put that one there, and let's put another one right here like this. There we go. And now we have this nice kitchen setup here. Right here. This looks good. This looks like a good kitchen setup. Right here we have these countertops. Right here we have our main stove right here. I've created this nice little lip that kind of goes up into this piece right here with these nice pieces right here. Okay. Oh, Black Angel having a hard time finding out where the resize feature is? It's totally still here. Okay, let's see here. All right, so we've got that set up here. Some other things that we might want to consider is some cabinets, some drawers. So why don't we take this larger cabinet piece right here? Let's actually take the smaller one, and let's make sure that it's in the kitchen. So let's kitty corner these in the corner. These can hold china. These can hold pots and pans. These can hold a whole host of things. In fact, why don't we just have one so it's not perfectly symmetrical? And then I'll also have another table just like this one in this corner. Like this. There we go. That looks good. So I have my main cooking space right here on these countertops. That's where you go when you do your cooking. And then right here is this right here. Maybe the prepared food gets rested on this table right here before it gets moved out. And this right here might be a whole host of things, right? Pots, pans, silverware, cutlery, all of those things can be in those spaces right there. We can also put some tables in the corners here. Don't forget, interior decor does not have to be all functional. Sometimes it's easy to get lost in that. Remember that interior decorating is also about making a space look appealing, making it look interesting, making it look pleasant for the eye to see. So when you're interior decorating, know that it's two parts. One, functionality, and two, what makes that space look intriguing, what makes that space look interesting. Okay, yeah, so we'll put those tables there. This could be just places to put the food. This could be places to put decoration. Maybe there's some plants maybe there's specific plants that only grow maybe in the subterranean air that's down there. We could put a plant down there. You could put pots. There's all these different things that you could probably put for decoration. Let's just go back to Dwarves 2.0. We'll expand again. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Maybe there's some wine casks, right? Maybe there's some wine or beer. Depends on what they eat. So why don't we put some casks down here? We'll copy and paste. There's this little trick that I like to use. I like to stack two of them on top of each other like this, and then put another one, a third one on top. Let's go ahead and make the two at the bottom a little bit darker to create contrast. There we go. So now we have some wine cast there for drinking. We can also add in some other things in here. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, why don't we add in a chest? Maybe that chest has some important things in it. So let's put a chest in the corner there. There we go. That looks good. Cool. This all kind of makes the most sense. You have wine or beer here. You have a table to place food before it goes out to the dining room. You've got your main kitchen countertops here for cooking. And then you also have your dresser for whatever cutlery, pots, pans. And then finally, you also have this chest right here, which could be linens for the kitchen table or for the dining room table, like spare linens. You could also put a chest in this other room right here to have your linens right here if you want, whatever it might be. Lots of things that you can do in there, so lots of options. So I think that's about all I could put in here for the base furniture. We'll go to details later. So let's just move our way back into the hall and then do some bedroom stuff, because bedrooms are a fun one as well. Let's kind of move our way in here. So we'll go into here and we'll type in bed. I think there's beds in here. Yep, here they are. Let's go ahead and use, these are all doubles here. Is there no singles? Oops, I think they're all singles or all doubles. That's unfortunate. I don't see any singles. Nope, not in that one. Let me expand this real quick. Yeah, there are no singles. That's okay. Dwarves are wide. Okay, if you have an art idea, feel free to share it here. No problem at all. All right, let's go ahead and put in a bed here. So when it comes to beds, I usually, in a bedroom, I always put a bed in first. And the reason why is because the bed is single door beds. I want those too. I think there is in the 1.0 style, I think, but I want to use 2.0. But I'm okay with putting a double in here. That's fine. But when you are putting in your beds, when you are doing a bedroom, the bed should go first, because it's the largest stamp, like I mentioned earlier, and you want to be able to navigate around. So you put in that biggest furniture first. I think the bed makes the most sense. So we'll go ahead and put a bed in there. Let me just make sure that I got the scale right. Right here is about 5 feet. That's your standard right there. So this right here looks to be about 6 plus feet wide, and maybe a little bit longer across. Now, where you placed it is important. Okay, where you place the bed, how you do interior decorating can say a lot about the person that lives there. For instance, let's say that this dwarf that lives in this room is paranoid, right? And maybe they're a miser and they don't like sharing, and they're paranoid. One thing you can do is have the bed, having it facing towards the door, so that way the occupant can always be looking at the door. Maybe they're a carefree bard and they don't care about that. Maybe they're too busy, having too much fun with drink and ale and partying all the time. They don't care. And so the bed is right here, closest to the door, without a care in the world, right? So where you place stuff inside of a bedroom can say a lot about the character of the occupant. So for me, I think I'll go ahead and put the door up against the wall right here like this. And I would put it right here to have the most room. I can copy and paste it here. Maybe I want to have 2 beds side by side like this, like that, but that would leave a lot of opening room for both sides. It leaves a lot of room because when you have a 2-sided bed like this, you need to, and there's going to be 2 occupants in that room, you need to think about walk room for access to that bed. So if I have the bed right here, guess what? The person who sleeps on that right side of the bed, how are they going to get to it without crawling across it? So I've placed it in a more central location along a wall so that way the occupants can access the bed space easily. So now that my bed has been put into place, I can move on to those next pieces that are going to go in the room. The next big ones are going to be like a desk or a dresser. Things like that will be next. So let's go ahead and bring that brightness down just to show that it's a little further down. And then maybe I want to choose some tables to represent like a desk, or I want to use these dressers right here. These dressers should work just fine. Let's use these. I like the kitty corner idea a lot, so why don't I just place one in this corner here, and I'll place another one in this corner right here. There we go. So we have these nice dressers right here. These beds might even be too small, or the dressers might be too big. I think they're okay. Let's go ahead and do this. This is at 34, and this one's at 26. Aha, there we go. There is a difference there. Let's make it a little bit bigger. There we go. Cool. Just want to keep it relatively within the same scale. Remember, these all are small rooms, so it's okay. Let's go ahead and move it this way. I think there's enough room to walk around. Let me just verify. Walks into the room, go here. There's enough room there. Yep, that's great. Okay, let's go ahead and add in some end tables, like you would expect an end table on each side, one for each person. So if I put one end table there and another end table there, that kind of makes the most sense. And remember, when people move things, when they, let's say they go to reach to turn a light stand off or to put a book down on the nightstand, that little stand might rotate and move a little bit, right? So it doesn't have to be perfectly lined up. So we'll put those there, and we'll probably break it up. For now, I'll put a nightstand on both sides, but we don't need to do that. We might switch and put some chairs instead, just to kind of break it up, because there's a lot of symmetry here, and I don't care for that. So maybe I'll break one off like this, and then maybe use a chair instead. So let's say I'll take, let's go ahead and take this chair right here. Make sure I got the scale right, and I'll go ahead and put a little chair right here. Actually, let's put it in this corner right here. That looks good. Right in that shadowy corner there. That looks good. And then we can take another end table and maybe place it right here up against where that chair is. Okay, so now here's the options. When the person walks in, they can sit down at that chair right there. They can read a book off that end table right there. They can go mess with the dresser right here. They can go lay on the bed. They can lay on the bed and play with things on the end table, or this little end table by the bedside table right here. So a lot of different options that you can kind of do there. Okay, that looks good. Why don't we keep adding a couple things? I mentioned books. Is there a bookshelf for dwarves? There might not be, and if there isn't, that's okay. Just take a look. I don't see any. That's fine. Well, what about adding in maybe like a chest of some kind? That makes a lot of sense, right? Maybe it's a hope chest. Maybe there's important things inside of it. So let's throw in a chest in there. And a couple options. I could put the chest maybe just like right up against the wall right here. That looks okay. I can place it right here. That's a good place for the chest. I can even kind of kitty corner it just a little bit, rotate it that way. Just a little bit. There we go. Okay, that looks good. Let's make this room a little bit different from the other room. Like, I don't want this room to be exactly the same as this one. So why don't we change it up a little bit? Why don't we put a different type of chair in the room? That will be helpful. That will help. Just put one chair right here. It's separate. It's different. Right here. There we go. Got a nice little chair right there. Now it looks quite different from this other room here. Why don't we also throw in maybe like some good things that you can throw at a bedside or at a end of a bed is like a little bench right here. So that way people don't have to sit on the bed to put on their boots, their shoes, whatever it is like that. So if I bring the brightness down, there's a little bench right here in front of the bed. Notice that there's enough walk room. And this is a great location to put all kinds of little details like pillows, maybe boots, clothing, some weapons, because they don't belong on the bed, right? So good place. Let's copy and paste that same one and then just place a larger version of that bench right here. And in fact, it can be like maybe even a table. We'll make it nice and big. And then I can go ahead and take another chair. I'll just copy and paste. Let me do the one that doesn't have some arms to it, because this little bench or chair or table right here might be small enough to where it can't. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and change the brightness on this. Bring that up a little bit. There we go. Okay. And then the little chair goes in right all the way in like that. So there's room. Let's move that all the way up against the wall like that. Push this all the way in. There we go. We want to make sure there's enough walk room. There we go. So those rooms seem to be set. We've added in all those details. There we go. So a lot of interior decorating. Okay, let's go ahead and move. Okay, let's go ahead and move our way back into the main hallway here. And then we'll move over to the master. Now that we've kind of done this smaller room, let's do a larger room just to kind of see how we kind of approach doing that one. So we'll go back. We'll look at beds. I think I saw some bigger ones like these. Maybe this one right here. This is just fine. Go ahead and just make sure I got the scale right. That looks good. Could put a bed right there. Could put a bed right here. I think right here looks the best. Oh, actually, you know what? This might look nice right here, like there. I think I like this kitty corner. I think I like this on this diagonal wall right here because these beds right here are all kind of vertical in their placement. This one right here is more at a diagonal, and that will make it a little bit more unique of a room. Yes, you can totally do that, by the way, D20 TV. You can copy and paste, or you can save it as a custom stamp. And I'll have videos on that on YouTube shortly. But for now, I'm pretty sure a VIP or a mod can help you out. Okay, let's go ahead and place that there. And just like before, I want to place some same elements like a dresser, a table. Let's go ahead and copy and paste these items. Let's just move them. Copy and paste and just move them right over to here. That looks good. And we'll go ahead and place maybe a dresser in this corner here. We'll place an end table, maybe right here. We'll go ahead and place this here. We'll place a chair, maybe right there. Let's go ahead and place this chest, maybe right against this wall right here. And then this bench right here looks good. Why don't we place that up against this wall right here? Now there is some extra room, so why don't we add some extra things like a much larger kind of dresser right here. That looks good, so we'll add that there. Looks good. Extra dresser there. That looks good. That looks good. Little chair in there. Perfect. Let's go ahead and bring the brightness up on that a little bit. There we go. Let's rotate the chair. Our end table goes in this corner. And a bench right here. Perfect. Okay, that looks good. Yep, you can absolutely copy and paste between maps. Helpful, huh? Okay, so we're moving right along here. Perfect. We might actually get done in the hour mark. Well, actually, we won't. We have to do all the we have to do all this other stuff first. My mistake. Okay. Okay. So I think we've done that room. Let's do this outer hall right here. There's this little hall that you see right here. Why don't we put something in this corner right here? This is a nice little corner right here. So why don't we put something nice in that corner there? It could be a elaborate runic chest. Maybe it's got some animal trophy head on the wall there. Maybe it's a fountain of some kind. Maybe it's an unfinished statue. Maybe it could be a fireplace where a fireplace is. There's a bunch of things that we can put in that corner there. Why don't we go with this unfinished statue? I think that looks good. Yeah, let's go ahead and just put this unfinished statue right here in this corner here. I'm not sure if this one works better. This one might work a little better. Let's place it there. Okay, we'll put this little unfinished statue right in this corner. Remember, we're kind of big on ancestral worship. That's a constant theme that I've seemed to have added into the lore of this map. So there's a lot of that. So let's maybe even flip this way. So where the hammer is on that side, there we go. That looks good. Make sure there's enough room for players to walk around. This statue doesn't get in the way. There we go. That looks good. Okay, let me just take a step back and look at all the changes that we've made. See, we've added a lot of interior decor already. Moving right along, getting things done. Yeah, interior decorating is actually one of my favorite parts of making a map. So this is kind of a fun one. Okay, so now this last room right here is kind of a storage room. And you notice that it is attached to this gold vein right here. This kind of again, represents like the family wealth that comes from this gold vein right here. That's why they have a very nice, kind of a larger house with all these various rooms that they have here. It's a fairly decent sized house. So that household is maintained through this gold vein that's dug at the bottom floor of this dwarven dwelling here. So with this one, a couple things. But this room doesn't have to have a lot of aesthetics because it's more of a functional room. It's called storage, right? So you don't have to have a ton of statues and really kind of decorative options for this lower floor, because this lower floor is going to be the one that's not going to be seen the most, right? A lot of guests aren't going to be seeing this. This is more of a private area that's for the family because it has access to that well. Okay. So let's go ahead and put some stuff in here. A couple things that we want to do is this could also not just be storage. This could be a workshop of some kind. So let's go ahead and place in a couple things. I noticed that there's a workbench in here. This one right here is called a workbench. There's one with details already on it, and there's one without. You notice here there's one with, one without. if there's one with details, then why don't we use it? Because that's just less work for you. So there's a couple places that we could put this bench. I think just right here is a good one. There's enough space here for it. Let's just scale it up a little bit to 36. That looks good. Right about there. 41. Right about there looks good. Let's also move, just kind of move it so I can kind of line it up against the wall there. That looks good. It's a nice large piece. That looks good. Let's go ahead and look over here and see what other options that we have to work with. Let's see here. Let's also, we could add in some kind of forage if we wanted to. I don't think we really need to do that. Let's actually, well, right here, we could add a little forage right here if you want. We can place a little forage in this corner right here. That makes sense. And then that way they can just turn around and walk right over to the bench if they need to. So we'll go ahead and put a little forage right here in the corner. That looks good. Let's go and bring the brightness down just a little bit. There we go. A little forage in the corner there. That makes the most sense. Let's go ahead and, I'm not going to do any details yet. So let's not add all those little tiny details. Let's maybe add in maybe some crates and barrels. You would kind of expect that in a workshop kind of setup. So let's put one there. Let's put another one right there. We got our crates. Let's also put some stuff in the storage rooms. So let's put in some crates. If you want, we can even put in some runic chests. Maybe this is where some of the gold is stored. And so this way you have to have some kind of magic to open up that chest. So we can put a runic chest in there. Maybe items that are not nearly as valuable can go in wooden chests that aren't locked. So maybe we can put a couple wooden chests in these corners here. Put one there and one maybe in this corner. Let's maybe put a little bit of a bigger one in there like this. So you can put some chests in the corner there, maybe even some smaller ones that are kind of kitty cornered in there like that. If I can fit it in there, let's put one right here like this up against here, and then we'll put that smaller one in that corner. There we go. So maybe this one right here has the most important items, maybe some gold in it. That's why it's got those runic stamps on it. That looks good. Okay, it looks good. All right. Okay. And I think that's it for major structure, major things. I think everything else can be details in here. Lots of details. I guess an anvil would be a good choice. Right here would be good. This is, I guess, not really a minor detail. It's pretty important. I'm going to set it up to where it's not going to get in the way of walking. So here's that walking over here. So I could probably place that, maybe they go in right here and place it right there like this. Okay, it doesn't block too much of the walkway. You can even kind of kitty corner it or rotate it this way. There we go. So when the dwarf is working on this, they just have to turn around and then they can hit the anvil right behind them. So that would make the most sense, and it doesn't block anything. I've even kind of lined it up with this wall right here against this part right here in this kind of L shape. That kind of makes the most sense. Let's go ahead and add a couple things. This is technically a detail, but I'll just throw it in real quick because we're getting close to details anyway. So some bellows. A billow? Billow? Is it a billow? I'm trying to remember what it's called. Bellows. Yeah, that's it. Okay. I think that's it for now. We'll come back and do details. Let's move our way into this last place right here, into this vein. And I think what makes the most sense here for following that functionality is there's going to be a lot of chests and things and boxes and crates and barrels so that they can kind of store, not just store, but also just transport these materials. So why don't we place a bunch of chests and stuff in here, crates, barrels, all of those things. All of that stuff is going to hold the stuff in here. So let's just copy and paste this. Let's put a couple chests in this corner right here, copy and paste. This room is a little bit darker, so why don't we bring the brightness down? That looks good. Let's also maybe grab some stuff that I already put down up here. For instance, some crates and barrel stuff. So let's put a barrel there. I think I also saw some barrels up here. Let's copy and paste these barrels and put them down here. There we go. That looks good. All right, sweet. And the best place to put things like crates, barrels, is up against a wall. It makes the most sense, right? Having it in the middle of the room, unless there's a large room, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, this is a fairly large room, so I can put maybe a barrel up against this wall right here. I can copy and paste. Maybe put a couple more right here like this. Why don't we stack them again? Let's go ahead and stack these right here like this. Copy, paste. Go ahead and put them right here. Let's go place them in this little corner right here. That looks good. And then I'll go ahead and change some of the settings on these. Bring the brightness down. Bring these down even smaller or even darker. There we go. Okay. All right. All right, let's let that autosave, and we'll go ahead and move up to that the last part, which is we're going to go do all the little details and how I go about doing that. Now, I already did some minor detail work up here with the scrolls and stuff, so we'll go down here and add in some details down here. And this is a good time to kind of talk about environmental storytelling, which is kind of important. Like, you want to be able to portray to your players something, like you want to convey something to them, and you do environmental storytelling to do that. So it could be as simple as like a trail of pages from a paper or from a book. It could be a trail, like a torn up pages from a book. It could be pages from a letter that was written that kind of lead into a certain direction. The point is that you want to lead your players to a certain location that's important. That doesn't mean that they're always going to bite, but if you want them to bite, if you want your players to go to a certain place, you need to do environmental storytelling, something that's going to want to cause your players to get curious and then go to an area for them to explore. And environmental storytelling is how you do that, and you do that with details, right? So I mentioned like maybe a book of some kind with some pages. Notice that there's a book right here. So why don't we actually put some torn pages or some kind of paper, and then maybe we'll have a little trail that kind of leads out. So I'll go ahead and look for some good paper here. These notes right here might work fine. That's a whip. Let's use these ones right here. Wizard paper. Let's use these. That's great. I'm going to scale the paper to where it fits with the book. So I'll scale this down. Let's make sure that it fits right to the book. And I'm going to bring the brightness down as well. And I'm going to do some layering. So I'm going to put this right here, bring the brightness down, and put a page. Let's maybe bring the brightness up a little bit more. I want it to pop out a little bit. And to show that there's height, this is table right here, I'll put a page underneath so that it looks like there is some height to it. So I'll go ahead and create some pages. And I'll go ahead and place them like this, creating a little line, a little path that kind of leads to in here. So that way your players, well, I'm going to put it to random rotation, by the way, right here. This little dice is random rotation. This one right here is randomized stamp, just so you know. So I'll go ahead and put some pages, and I'm going to go ahead and place them to where they lead into this main room here. That way. So you have some nice details there. So what will happen is the players will see these notes, and it's a very clear indication that, hey, maybe they should walk in that direction. Now, you don't have to use visuals. You can also use your storytelling, like your players, NPC is in that room and it tells them, hey, you should meet us in the dining room for dinner tonight before an encounter takes place or whatever, right? You don't have to use visuals. You can also use storytelling, traditional, to kind of make players move into a certain direction. So there's all different ways that you kind of do that. Now that we've kind of moved our way into this room, I guess we could do a couple things here. Like, let's maybe place some details in this room. Like maybe there's something on the bench. Like maybe there's actually a piece of paper that's on the bench itself. That might not be a bad idea. Maybe it's a prayer of some kind. Why don't we put like some kind of rune on top of that? So I think what we can do is the runes are found in the watercolor city style, I believe. And we'll let that load real quick. And if I type in rune, I think they pop up. Here they are right here. That's great. Let's go ahead and put some runes on that paper there. That looks good. So maybe it's some kind of prayer or some kind. Let's go ahead and just rotate it a little bit this way. Put a little symbol on it. There we go. Okay, that looks good. So now that we have some symbols, you could do the same thing. You could put those runes on these paper if you wanted to. That just depends how much details you want to throw in there. But I always try to throw in a couple details in here. That looks good. Why don't we even put some weapons in there? Let's go back to Fantasy Battlemaps, and we'll go to the Dwarven. And there should be some weapons. Maybe weapons are not allowed in the other areas. So maybe you store your weapons here. That's why there's a person with a sword right here. So maybe we'll just place some weapons on the tables here. That looks good. Okay. Is there anything else? Why don't we add some jewelry as well? Might not be a bad idea. Maybe I'll put a little jewel on top of here. And why don't we also put some jewelry on this table right here? That looks good. Okay. All right, lots of cool stuff here. All right, let me just take a look if there's anything else I want to put in this room. I could put a rug in here, but I think there's too much going on with the floor, so let's not put a rug in here. I think we can just move our way into here. And I'm not going to put a rug in here either. It doesn't really make any sense to add a rug. This is a dining hall, and I don't want to pick, you know, you kind of want the floor to be not carpeted, so if the food falls onto the rug or to the carpet, then you have to clean that. So I prefer like a hard floor, like whether it's hardwood, stone, whatever it might be on that floor, because if you put a rug in here, again, it's just going to be messy. You could if you wanted to, but I personally don't. So I'm not going to put a rug in here. But there's a bunch of stuff that we could put in here. For instance, we could look up like plates. Like there's some wooden plates here. Why don't we take a wooden plate? Let's put one maybe on the table where someone is sitting. Let's go make sure that's up on the right layer here. There we go. One plate goes there. I see a smaller one. Let's put one right there. Oops, wrong layer, my mistake. Let's go ahead and put this here. Go to sublayer. There we go. Let me take a look here. Some other things we could put on the table. Some cutlery makes sense. So why don't we put like maybe some cutlery along each one. Let's maybe put a fork right here and a knife right here. That kind of makes sense. Let's see here. We can also put a quenching tub. Like there could be a location in which your players, you need to wash your hands. So maybe there we can put a little washing station right here. That looks good. We'll put a little washing station in there. That looks good. Some details that you can do is you can also put some stuff. You can also put like some blood that looks like water and spilt on the floor. That's a nice little detail. Why don't we do that? Let's go here, type in blood. I personally don't care for the blood in this style because it's a little too much too pooly. I prefer the more streakier kind, but this also works great for if you want to have water pooled out. So I can just bring the hue all the way to the left. We'll kind of get that bluish color. We can even move it a little bit to get a little more of that bluish color. And then we'll switch that blend mode. We'll find that right blend mode that'll look good. I think that kind of looks good. Let's go ahead and place that down right there. Now you have some water on the ground right there. That looks good. Some nice details there. There's also some like mugs and stuff. So why don't we throw down some more silverware, more mugs, things like that. So go back to Dwarven here. And I thought I saw some wooden mugs right here. I'm using the wooden mugs because I want to use a warmer color to contrast against the gray of here. You could use this right here as well, but I think there's some grays in this, and I kind of find that the warmer color pops out a little bit more against this gray. So I'll use these wooden stuff instead. So let's go ahead and put like a mug here. Let's make sure it's facing this way towards the person sitting there. One here. And we can even put a couple mugs in the center of the table here. That looks good. There's a reservoir pot here. This looks good. I don't think that's necessary. Let me just take a look at what other things we have in here. No weapons are allowed. We've got some tool stuff. I don't think I need to add any more details in here. We could put some pots up against the wall just to have something pretty. Like maybe we'll put a pot right there. And then I'll place another pot right here just to add some nice decorating to make it pretty right there. That looks good. Let's go put another pretty color pot right here on top of this one. I think that looks good. How do you show grid on 2.0? Not too complex. Right over here. Navigate your way over to the right panel where it says layers. And then right there you'll see grid. And you can turn it on and off using the little eyeball. And then all the grid settings, you just select on it where it says grid, and then the options will be there. Okay, there's also a video on the YouTube that shows you how. Great question, by the way. Thank you. Okay, So I think we've added a lot of details in here. We've got a little story, environmental storytelling that leads up to here. We've got this chest. We've added some decorations here. We could even add a pot to the center of the table if you wanted to have a little bit more interesting stuff. So we could maybe put this little pot right here. And if you want, you can even put a plant in it. We are underground, so a pot might not work, or maybe we could use like a crystal of some kind. That might make more sense. Why don't we type in crystal? Maybe there's a crystal coming out of a pot right there. That might be kind of interesting. Let's go ahead and use those new ones. Let's put this one down, and let's just place it right on top like that. And so maybe you have a nice little crystal right here coming out of this pot, giving a little bit more, adding a little bit of pop of color here. Kind of helpful. There we go. I think I've done most of the interior decorating in here. For this one, why don't we go ahead and move into the next room here? Pretty much all the same things that you saw in the dining room, you're probably going to find in here. I do believe I saw some important things like pots and pans. Like there's a pot, there's a pan right here. We can place it just right here on the fireplace itself. Ooh, I realized that is actually on the wrong layer, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and place a pot there. Let's place another one right here. Why don't we also place some mugs? Let's also place some plates. There we go, something to work with. Let's go ahead and put, let's go ahead and go into the tavern pack, and there should be some like logs inside of there. If you go scroll down, there's Tavern 2.0 right here, and you'll notice there's these nice stacked logs. Why don't we add that as well? Let's add in some stacked logs right in that corner, or right here, as you would kind of expect. Right there, that looks good. There's also a couple items in here, like this pots right here. Let's put a big pot right here. The tavern is a great place to find a lot of good stuff, so let's go ahead and use that. Oh, there's a mitt. Let's go ahead and put that on a table. That looks good. Okay. Oh, you know what? Why don't we add some music as well? Let's go put this guitar or instrument. Let's go put this leaning up against right here. That looks good. So that way there's some music for a bard. Or you can move that into a bedroom if you want. That's up to you. I think I'll move that to a bedroom. Let's just continue in here. Okay, let's see what else we have in here. I'm going to see what other items we can use. Now, I do see some food in here, so why don't we actually include that? So let's see here. What kind of food do we want to add? Maybe some food that's already been eaten? Nah, let's not do that. Let me just take a look here. Oh, yeah, some bread. Let's do that. That makes sense. Let's go ahead and put some bread on there. Some sliced bread over here. Oops, not that one. Like this. I got some sliced bread. There we go. That looks good. Make sure I got food. Let's go ahead and see what other things I should be adding in here. Let's take a look. Let's go take another log and kind of just place it right here. Let's also maybe take an axe. We'll go ahead and search for that. Oh, there's an axe right there. Great. Let's go ahead and put that axe maybe right where the firewood is. That makes sense. That looks good. Okay. We'll go back to Dwarven. Okay. Oh, let's see here. Dwarves 2.0. Great. Okay. This looks good. Oh, those are toilets for a bathroom. Rugs. Okay, I'm just checking out what other things I can add in that kitchen there. I think from everything that I have here, that's about the majority. I can put other things in there as well if I wanted to from other styles, but I do want to focus on the Dwarven. So I think that looks good. Yes, this looks okay to me. You could add probably a lot more details on the floor and stuff, but I think for now that looks good. Why don't we move into the bedroom? Details for bedrooms are things like, one of the first things I'll add for details for any bedroom is like a rug. And where you put the rug is really up to you, honestly. This is like a stone bed, so I don't know if the rug kind of makes sense to put it there, but there is this nice bench or this table right here with a with a chair right here. And so this right might work best up against where this table and chair is. That kind of makes sense, right up against there. And then we can also do a different one. Maybe we want to have one going across like this. A longer one goes against here like this. If you don't like it right there, you can make it smaller and make a little rug that goes in the beginning, like right here in the entrance if you want, like that. Up to you. A lot of different ways. You could have multiple rugs stacked on top of each other too. That's fine. I feel that also looks more interesting when you have like a stack of rugs. That also looks good. I'm not sure if there are any other rugs. I think those are the only ones. Oh, this one right here. Why don't we take those fancier rugs and place them over here in here? And you'll notice also that these are kind of a warmer color while the floor below is a cooler color. I think that helps to kind of create contrast quite a bit. So the details we want to throw in are things like maybe someone's a musician. So let's throw in a guitar of some kind. Put that on there. Let's say that maybe we want to add in some wall hangings. Like maybe we want to have like, maybe this person is known as like an orc slayer or a goblin slayer. So you could put a little bust of an orc slayed right above the door, above the bed to kind of remind you of remind that occupant of their triumphs. Let's see here. We could also throw in some jewelry of some kind. Put that on the end table. Let's see here. We could also put in things like, oh, you know what? I saw a mortar and pestle. Let's move that over to the kitchen. Kind of makes sense to put it there. Let's put it right on top of that right there. Looks good. This person's a lover and not a fighter, so I'm not going to put a weapon in this room. But we can put some other things like maybe this little reservoir right here. This can act as maybe like a chamber pot. You're not sure what a chamber pot is. It's basically where you go to the bathroom. So this could maybe act as like a chamber pot. This one right here can also act as kind of like a chamber pot. We can put it maybe like right here. There we go. Because you notice that there's no bathroom in this house. So little chamber pots kind of make the most sense. How do they go poo? How does that work? So we got to have in some chamber pots. And let's go ahead and put some details on top of the dressers, like maybe a pot of some kind can go on top of the dresser. That makes sense. Okay, let's add some mugs. Like maybe there's a mug right here. Maybe someone was drinking some ale. That makes the most sense. You could have it peek from underneath the bed, though I think this bed is made of stone. I'm not sure if it has a wooden bed frame that goes underneath it or not. I'm not so sure. And also, those chamber pots are huge. Those dwarves got some big butts. I might want to make them maybe just a little bit, maybe a little bit smaller. They're probably falling into the chamber pot, so I should probably make them a little bit smaller, right? There we go. That makes more sense. Any bit bigger and they'd be sitting in it. Okay, I think, okay, because there's an instrument in here, that already kind of gives us some ideas. Like maybe we want to throw down some notes. So if I go over to Fantasy Battlemap and type in note, I do think there are some actual notes right here. So you would expect some kind of sheet music to be in here. Maybe this dwarf is composing some music of some kind. So we'll go ahead and do that. There we go. Looks good. Got some notes. That looks good. Okay, chamber pot. We have that chest there. We got some jewelry. We've got a mug. I think overall this is looking good. We got a lot of details in here. Okay, let's go ahead and move our way up into this next room right here. Perhaps the dwarf that lives here is a little bit more of a warrior. So let's reflect that. In fact, let's go back and remove this piece right here. And I'll put it into here. This room is the warrior room. So we'll go ahead and put a goblin head above here, as you would kind of expect. And then we'll also go over to Dwarven 2.0. There we go. And we'll add in a weapon of some kind. Let's go ahead and add in these axes. Someone mentioned an axe. So let's put the axe on the end table. It's closest to them. This is kind of to show the warrior ethos. Notice that the the axe is closest to the bed, so that way they can access that access. Yeah, okay, dad joke. We're done. Okay, let's see here. You know what? Why don't we also put in maybe a book just like this one here to kind of show that like there's a book right here that maybe it's a warrior's manual of some kind, like the 5 Rings, something like that. Thank you, Cal. Yeah, dad jokes are not allowed, right? All right, let's go ahead and put that there. This is some kind of warrior tome of some kind. So that should look nice. Put that there. That looks good. We got our weapon. Let's just keep going here. What else do we have? Let's go ahead and throw in some armor. So there's a helmet here. So let's go ahead and put maybe the helmet right on top of the dresser here. Let's also maybe put a shield leaning up against the wall, because this is the warrior room. You would kind of expect that. So put the shield up against the wall there. Let's also put some gauntlets. Let's go put them right here on top of here. One right there. What else do we have? I think that's it. Our shield. This is another helmet face down. I don't think we need to add that in there. That looks good. Oh, there's also a stand of some kind, an armor stand. That could look good right here in this corner. Let's kitty corner that. And then we have an armor stand right there in that kitty corner. That looks great. Okay, that room looks done. Okay, I think those are all the details for each one of those. When each room has a theme. This is the room of the bard with the notes, the prettier things. And then we go into this other room here. And this is the room of the warrior with the warrior tome, the armor, the weapons, the battle trophy. All of those things kind of help to signify what that room, who belongs in that room. And then we'll move over from the hallway and then go right back into our master. And there's a bunch of things that we can add in here. Let's see here. We could add a nice big, let's maybe add a nice big elk like head. Put that right over here. It's meant to be a larger room, right? Where maybe the patron or the owner of the house lives. So let's put something grand above the bed there. Let's also maybe put, there could be another tome of some kind. Let's go ahead and grab this one right here to make sure the scale is right. Copy, paste. And we'll move it into here. Put a tome right here. I don't know what that's for. Let's go ahead and take a look here. What other options we have here? Let's put a mix of things, like maybe we'll put a weapon in here. Let's put a weapon on there. Let's also maybe put a plate. Let's put some plates, some silverware in there. Let's also put a warrior stand in here, an armor stand. You can kind of steal things from different rooms and then place them into here. So let's put the armor stand in here. Let's maybe put that, let's put the bench right here and then put the armor stand in the corner here. That kind of makes the most sense. There we go. Let's keep adding stuff. Let's also put like a shield that's on the ground. Maybe put a big shield like this one right here. Place that on the ground right there like that. Let's bring the brightness down. Okay. All right, let's see what other options we have. Oh, there's this nice horn right here. This is a nice big horn. I kind of like that. Let's see here. Nah, let's save that for a different room. Let's just kind of go over other options here. Let's see. Let's also put a chamber pot in here, as you would kind of expect. So let's go back to the room here and grab that chamber pot. Let's put the chamber pot. Let's put 2 chamber pots if there's 2 people that live in that room. One there, and let's put another one over here like this. I'll rotate it so it's a bit separate. Put that there. Let's rotate that little bench there. That looks good. Okay. All right, let's just keep going here. We're going to keep adding more and more stuff. There's some jewelry. Why don't we put some jewelry and stuff on the end tables? That looks good. Okay. I'm trying to see what other things I can add here real quick. Does it have a hearth? Yeah, it can have a hearth. let's do that. It's a great idea. Why don't we put the hearth here? And I'm going to show you how I go about doing this, because this is for this layer right here is for interior decor. So what I'll do is I'll go to stairs and flooring right here. And I'm going to go ahead and then grab a hearth of some kind. So we can use this furnace lit right here. And I'll go and just place it right here like this. This is separate from this is a bit separate from my other layers. I'm going to go ahead and push it all the way up against here like this. So that way there's room. There we go. So I have that set up right there. And then the next step is I'll go over to my walls right here. Walls. I'm going to go into my walls, open that up, and then I'll also find a chimney. This thing right here, this is a wall sconce, but I'll just use it as a chimney. Yeah, let's just use it as a chimney. That should be fine. Let's go with this one right here. Let me see. Which one would be best? Let's use this one right here. I'm going to use this as kind of like a chimney right here. Make sure it's on the right layer. There we go. Put it up. Let's put it on here just like this. We bring up the size. There we go. Now we have a nice hearth. Thank you. I'm glad someone mentioned that, the hearth. That's a good choice. That looks good. So we have the hearth there. That we also need to deal with lighting. Remember, I have my lighting is right here. So if I go to lighting, I open this up. You notice I have all my lights in here. Why don't I just copy and paste a couple? Let's put a orangish light right there. And let's go put a yellowish light right here. And I'll put it right there. So that way it kind of is emanating out. There we go. Now I have some nice lighting and a hearth. Good call on the hearth. Cool. Great, Cal. Thank you for suggesting it. Okay. So I think this room looks pretty good. We've got all the functional things as well as decorative things that are in here. Let's go ahead and make our way to the last two rooms here. The last one is down here. So let's go back to interior decorating and move our way down. Let's go ahead and place some details in here. Let's go ahead and go into here. There's a couple things here. We have a grindstone. There's already a grindstone attached right here. I can't tell if this is a grindstone. It might be, I don't know. Let's go ahead and add this though. A grindstone is good to have. So let's go ahead and place one. Let's maybe place it. Let's place it right here. There we go, in that corner there. That looks nice. We're also going to expect some things like there's going to be like gold ingots. We do have gold down here. So why don't we go ahead and place some gold ingots? Why don't we actually put some shelving in somewhere? And then we'll go ahead and place those ingots on there. So let's maybe pick a table of some kind. I want to choose kind of a thinner, smaller one. Maybe this one right here would work. Let me see if I can find a small, kind of a smaller table that I could use. What's this? This is a tomb slab. Let's use this right here. This looks good. I'm going to go ahead and place it right up against this wall right here. I'll have it kind of protruding out of the wall right here. Copy and paste. Let's see if I have enough room for another one. I don't. That's fine. Place that there. And then we'll go ahead and take those gold ingots and kind of just stack them. Let's go ahead and turn off random rotation and random stamp. Put this up a layer, and then we'll stack a couple of these like this. Let's also take this one, go up a layer, and then we'll have one below as well. So it looks like it's one beneath the table. I do this often. And of course, since these are on the floor, they should be a little bit darker. They should not be brighter than the ones that are on the table because we're using contrast to show height. There we go. So we got some ingots. That kind of makes the most sense there. I think also there were some tools as well, like hammers and stuff. So why don't we use those? I thought I saw a hammer. No. Let me expand all the assets. Here we go. Oh, I thought I remember seeing a hammer in here, but I guess I don't see it anymore. A small one, not a big one. Okay. Let's go back to battle maps and just type in hammer. Would have swore I saw one in here. There it is right there. Oh, it's in mine editions. My mistake. There we go. And we'll put the hammer, as you would kind of expect, right where the anvil is. That kind of makes sense, right? And then we'll go into the catalog here. Just take a step back and look at it. The ingots, the lighting. Oh, you know what? We didn't add any lighting for this thing right here. So why don't we go back to lighting? We'll use that orange light, copy and paste, put that right there. Let's bring the size down a little bit. And I'll take that more yellowish light No, I don't think that's it. It's this one right here. Copy, paste. There we go. And I'll put it right there like that. There we go. The lighting looks good. Okay, let's just take a step back. All right, sweet. How much time are we at? We're at 4:30. Sweet. We'll be able to finish this in just a few moments. Let's go ahead and add in the last bit of details in here. And it's exactly what you'd kind of expect. A lot of the same things that are in here, you're going to kind of find in here. Let's go back to those mining additions real quick. And I think I saw a couple things because the mining makes sense in this particular room. So let's go over to mining additions. I think it's called mine additions. Perfect. There you go. You see all these nice mining additions here. There's a couple things. Shovels. There's some chisels, some tongs, these pickaxes. All of these things are going to be perfect. Like here's a wheelbarrow. That makes total sense. Let's put a wheelbarrow in here. And it needs to be small enough to fit in between these spaces. So see how it fits in between that space. It can fit in between this space. So let's go ahead and put that up against the wall right here like this. I'll bring the brightness down so it's in a darker room, of course. And then we'll do the same thing here. Let's go ahead and grab a couple things here. Let's grab a shovel. And we'll line the shovel up against maybe against this wall right here. Oh, I'm in lighting. My mistake. I'm in the wrong layer. Let's go back down to interior decor. There we go. Sweet. My mistake. Go put that there. Let's go and put a shovel leaning up against the wall there. Let's go put one on the ground right next to it like this. Yep. All kinds of fun stuff. Let's actually use some of these crates right here as well. These crates look good. Let's go ahead and place a couple of these in here. Have a couple open ones up like this. Again, we'll mess with the brightness here. There we go. I'm going to start with functional stuff first. This is what I always do. I start with function first, and then I'll move into more details. So let's go ahead and maybe put got a ladder here. You could have a ladder that goes up to here if you want. Move that stuff out of the way and put a ladder that goes up to this raised section right here. Or maybe there's a ladder that goes up to this gold vein that's up top right here like that. You can do that. The ladder goes up to this piece right here if you want to. There was a Fantasy World update not too long ago, about a year ago. So, but, you know, you can always make your own as well. Just combine a bunch of stamps and you can make all kinds of crazy stuff. We got a couple of tutorials on that. Masterclasses, definitely go check that out. Let's see here. Yeah, let's go and throw in these as well. Let's put in a chisel, put in all this kind of stuff. But you're right. I would like to see a new update as well. Even though it was just about a year ago or so that we updated it, you could always add more stuff. Because I think, honestly, when it comes to Fantasy World, there is just so much variety in what a fantasy world could look like. So I would love to see just a robust amount of options for Fantasy World. But, you know, I find that you can come up with almost an infinite number of combinations by combining stamps together to make some really interesting points of interest. So it's just up to you. Also, there might be some stuff in the marketplace. I'm not sure. Let's go ahead and take a couple of these kind of like craters. Let's also put these on the ground. These kind of make sense. Let's go ahead and change the blend mode to luminosity. There we go. And then I'll bring the brightness down. There we go. So now we have some nice kind of craters on the ground. Maybe there's some explosions that took place. Who knows, right? Let's also go ahead and take those same ingots right here. And let's go ahead and place them on the ground. Let's place a couple right here next to these chests. A couple ingots here. Maybe they kind of lead. The ingots kind of lead outward. Let's go put some like on the stairwell. One right here. One right here. So that way your players can kind of like follow and lead their way in there. Yeah, hint, nudge, nudge, right? Totally agree. I would love to see that. Oh, there's some... These right here look good. Let's put some right there. That's good. There's some scrap metal. We can also put some scrap metal on the ground. Let's put a couple over here. That looks good like that. Bring the brightness down. There we go. Okay. Let's just take a look. What are the other options in here? I think for the time being, this looks good. We could throw in maybe some coal and maybe put it right inside of here if you want. That could work. Let's see here. Oh, there's some smaller ones too. Let's go put those on the ground maybe. Let's go to here, bring the brightness down a little bit. Maybe a little bit lower. There we go. Oopsie, let's set it to random rotate. There we go. Hey, Faceless King, glad that you're here. Yeah, I love seeing new people. Let's go and place a couple of these on the ground like this. There we go, that looks good. Adding in some details. Let's put in some tongs in here. We can place them right. Place it right there, it looks good. And then maybe we should put something important up here in this raised area right here. So there could be a number of things that we could put in there. Maybe it's like a staging area. Maybe we could put a bunch of like crates and barrels there. So let's go ahead and place a bunch there. These kind of have like a mystical kind of look to them. So we could place them there. Remember to kind of follow that trick. Bring the brightness down. Create that sense of contrast. There you go. And then we'll bring the brightness down just a little bit on this top one. Not too much. A crystal eye. Oh, there's so many things we could do here. Something interesting. We could put like maybe there's a summoning circle or something. Let's type in summon. Let's do that. Let's go use, I think what I'll do is I'll use the watercolor battle map ones because you'll notice that there's some markings on these crates right here. Look at these crates. They kind of have these reddish markings on them. And the watercolor battle map style has these nice reddish blood like summoning things. So this should kind of fit fairly well with the theme with the blood there. So let's go ahead and place those. Maybe I'll just place some blood right here, and then I'll change that blend mode so that it kind of blends with the texture underneath of it. So we'll go through it. Oh, I kind of like that. Looks like it's kind of faded. That looks kind of nice. Looks good. Let's go ahead and place this right here. A crystal eye, someone said. I'm not against a crystal eye. Let's type in eye. I don't know if there's a crystal eye per se, but we could find a eye. There's an eye right there. That looks good. Oh, you know what? Let's use this circular one right here. That looks a little bit better in the center there. And it's possible that the dwarfs have made like a blood pact with maybe an eldritch creature that dwells in the walls, or like maybe there's whispers that come from the walls, maybe a demon of some kind that kind of haunts this space. And so the dwarves of this dwelling have made a blood pact with maybe that demon or whatever it might be, to have the gold veins kind of regenerate over time. And they've kind of created a blood pact to do that. So maybe that's it. There could be all kinds of fun things. Blood and gold could be the theme. So lots of kind of cool things that we can go with here. Maybe this is the eye of that demon, that eldritch creature. And so when you players come in here, they can commute with that creature. Maybe the demon over several generations, over each generation, there's a curse that takes place because of that blood pact. And then maybe over time, the dwarves, maybe they never leave this space, slowly succumbing to a madness the longer they kind of spend more time. So over the generations, maybe these dwarves in this family go crazy. All kinds of fun little storytelling that you can kind of do in there. Why don't we also add in some lighting? So I'll go back to the lighting layer here. I'll just copy and paste one and then just place it right on top right here. And then I'll go over to tweak colors all the way to the left, where it's going to be blue. And in fact, why don't we go with purple instead? That might work better. Let me bump the saturation up. And sometimes when it's hard to tell what color it is, I'll go to normal. This way I can see that light stamp easily. I can see what color it is, so I can see the colors, see what looks good. I kind of like green. I kind of like this kind of green color here. That looks good. Let's go back to the blend modes, and we'll go with overlay. There we go. And I'll go ahead and place one on top like that. Put another one big like this. Let's maybe change that blend mode to something else. We could go light and screen. Overlay, hard light. Let's go with difference. Let's see here. Color. Let's go with color. There looks good. That looks good. Okay. Why don't we do some... Let's just do some real quick highlights. So you see this kind of green light that's kind of emanating from it. Why don't we just make some real quick highlights? I'm on the lighting layer. I'm going to go ahead and use a line at free draw. I'm going to choose a color. I'm going to choose that greenish color that I have. Oopsie, not the catalog. This color right here. Go with that green color. I think right about, push it more into the blues. I think about that looks right. And then I'll blur it and then change the blend mode to overlay. And I'm just going to go ahead and place one line real quick first. Let's bring the size up. There we go. That looks good. Let's maybe bring the blur up a little bit more. Bring the opacity down. There we go. And then I'll go ahead and just draw a line of green right here, like that. Let's put a little line of green right here, like that. Little line of green right here, like this. And you'll kind of see that I'm adding a little bit of a green highlight to kind of make it a little bit more spooky, right? Put a little bit of green highlight here, here. There we go. Now you have some green highlights. That makes it a little bit more freakier. A couple other things you can do to make things more interesting is these fey lights. I use these a lot. They kind of represent like an energy of some kind or sparks or some kind. So I'll go ahead and look for the best one. This big one looks good. And then I'll change that hue as well to get a different color. Let's see here. Ooh, I kind of like that reddish and yellow. That's a good one. Let's maybe put that there. That looks good. Okay. All right. I think that kind of sets it up. So you guys kind of got the general idea. It took about 2 hours to go through it. Interior decorating can take a little bit of time, but it's a lot of fun. And this is where a lot of the environmental storytelling takes place. This is where a lot of like telling a story about who occupies the space, who lives in each bedroom, all of those little interior decorating things kind of help to set the stage, tell the story for each room and what's kind of going on. All right. Well, if you do like this map, I will probably save this and I'll make it clonable. If you would prefer to have the empty version that doesn't have any interior decorating, if you scroll to the very top of the chat, the link is provided above. So just go ahead and click that and you'll do your own interior decorating. Or if you particularly like the way I decorated this one for your own use, I'll make sure that that link is also provided in the YouTube description when I add the video. Okay, is there any questions that people have before we kind of take off here in the next like 5-10 minutes or so? Just let me know if there's any, like, we'll do a short little 10-minute Q&A real quick. I think most of the questions got answered by our wonderful VIPs, but if there are some questions, let me know and I'll answer them. We'll just give that a few moments. People to figure out what they want to do. Okay, I'm just going to take a step back and look at this real quick while people come up with any questions. So far, I think our VIPs have done just such a wonderful job answering all the questions. Becca and the others. Thank you, Cal, as well. Okay, I don't see any questions, at least not yet, so we might wrap it up. Okay, yeah, not seeing any questions. All right, thanks, everyone. I really appreciate it. Don't forget, we have a stream happening on Friday, and we'll more and more videos. Oh, wait, any advice for creating a realistic sense of wabi-sabi organized chaos? Oh, that's a good question. Like, how do you create organized chaos? I mean, with like, honestly, I think clutter is the best way to go about doing it. Like here, you'll notice that there's paper everywhere. This kind of creates this chaos. How many hours have you burned making one room for one NPC? Could be a lot, honestly. So it just depends on the room. Like for me, the bigger the room is, the longer it takes. The smaller a room is, the shorter that it takes. Like a ballroom, I've made a ballroom before, and that took like an hour to decorate because it's a ballroom, right? I wanted to add in all the pretty stuff, a chandelier, the reflection on the floor, all of those things took a little while. So the larger the room, well, it was a part of a larger manor house that had a bunch of other rooms, but yeah, it took about an hour to do the ballroom. That was the longest I think I've ever taken. Some of them might take longer. I think that's the longest one that I can think of. Let's see here. Any other questions here? Oh yeah, like Mighty Mitsu said, clutter is the trick. Clutter, 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 clutter. So you want to have like a bunch of paper everywhere. Maybe there's clothing all over the place. All of those things, creating clutter, and you do that with, excuse me, with details. So that is the best way to kind of create this wasabi chaos that you're talking about. Go ahead and see if there's any other questions in here. Yeah, I really love this map as well. Thank you, Becca. I appreciate it. Yeah, this is a fun one. Oh, yeah, awesome. Okay. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any questions yet. Any other questions yet? So we'll give it just a couple more seconds and see if anyone's got anything. That was a good question, by the way. I liked both of those questions because I honestly I think clutter it makes a room more realistic because you would kind of expect that. And the clutter thing also just depends on who lives in that room, right? So maybe they're a hoarder, so you want to have like rows of stuff that people have to navigate through, or maybe they're just a clean freak and they're kind of OCD, maybe, then you would have a very clean and tidy room. So, but for the chaos, it's all about clutter. Lots and lots of clutter. Pages, clothing, plates, food, stuff everywhere. That's really the best way to kind of go about creating that chaos. Okay, well, I think that's it. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you all on Friday for the next stream. I'm looking forward to that. Don't forget, we will also include a whole bunch more clips to kind of explaining the editor, because I know that there is so much that's been added that it is a bit confusing. So we're going to be throwing on remaining clips. This video right here, this stream, this VOD will not be added until tomorrow. So if you missed it, it won't be uploaded till tomorrow because I'm going to try to upload more of the clips from the overview video. So expect this video uploaded to YouTube tomorrow, okay? All right. All of you are amazing. Thank you to all the VIPs and everyone else who helped answered questions when I could not. Thank you so much. Please stay safe and healthy, and merry map making. Goodbye, everyone. Take care.